So, welcome everyone to this live where we are going to explore what if being you is the only money magnet you
Or
need.
or it could be a mani magnet. Maybe you need a mani, Maybe you need a male to watch your children. I don't know.
Ah,
We have all kinds of desires in our lives.
very true. Maybe
Yeah.
we need a many magnet
Yeah, it
or
could be a mani magnet.
like a
So
mini magnet,
ways.
a magnet that pulls in everything, whatever
Right.
it is, a mini magnet.
Exactly. Yes. That.
So I wanted to start by asking you, this book that you wrote, Being You, Changing the World, you talk about all different kinds of ways where profound change occurs when you start to be you. However, when it comes to money, it's like we have a very hard time connecting the dots. So we mimic people or we try to fit into a form. So in your life, when did it start changing for you? Was there any kind of like moment where you really realized that when I'm being me, I'm actually pulling in money?
Well, it started with the conversation I had with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. When I first met him and we first started having conversations and consciousness together. And sorry, my my OCD will not allow me. I'm so bright. I was trying to change the white balance. Instead, I just cranked my face up to full sun. Still there. Oh well. Um, but I was having a conversation while we were shoveling horseshit, and he said something to me that changed my entire perspective. He said, the purpose of money is to change people's realities. He said that, and that was the first thing that ever made me want to have money. And he also said to me, there's no such thing as a money issue. It's only an issue in what you're willing to receive. And I was like, that little brain exploding emoji. It was a Dain exploding emoji. Before there were emojis, that's when I started, people. Okay. Before there were even emojis, that's, yeah, like OG right here. Anyway, so when he said that, it's only an issue in what you're willing to receive. Well, right before that, we had a conversation that you can only receive what you can be. And I
Mm,
went, wait a minute. So if it's not about money, which is, by the way, for those of you listening, that's one of you can't even grok it. You can't even wrap your mind around it when I say it usually, because of course it's about the money. I need the money and it's about the money. And that was the road I was going down too, until I had this conversation, started exploring this basically this very different way of looking at it. Because if you're going to have this in your world, you're going to have to be willing to change your perspective. But it's a perspective that when you change it, starts to gives you a different perspective on everything. But when he said it wasn't about the money, it was about the receiving. And we had also talked about that you can't receive anything you're not willing to be. I started looking at, okay, where and how am I cutting off my receiving? And where am I cutting off my being? And if I did what I really wanted to do, which is explore what it is to be me, you mean that would create more money than what I've been doing to try to create money? And he went, yes. I was like, are you? Oh my God. So it's been an exploration over 25 years, but we keep thinking there's some answer that we're missing. We keep thinking
mm.
that if we can just figure it out, just get the right formula, then we will set ourselves free. Then all of this will work. That is an incorrect assumption. If you're going to have something different, you're going to have to do something fundamentally different to get there. And that's really more about what this conversation is about. And the weird part is when you're doing this thing of there's some magic formula out there, you search in everybody's world to see if they have the magic formula. You'll listen to anybody who tells you they have more answers than you do. But does it ever work? What if the real missing element is you being you, whatever that is, that will actually allow something different to show up than what you've had before and than what your family has had before?
Exactly. That's actually another question that I had. Because often when we think about being us, we think that's staying in our comfort zone. Like we feel like us when it feels familiar, when it feels the same. But that also means that then the financial situation has to be within the family or what's normal among a group of friends or in our culture. So how does that change when we start being willing to explore who we
Well,
truly be?
I love that question because here's the other weird part is people are holding in place their money situation exactly as it is
Mm,
because it maintains predictability and because it maintains comfort, even if that comfort is a level of pain that you've associated with knowing what's going on. And
mm,
we could do an entire conversation on just that one point because you got to realize this is not logical. It's energetic. One of the things that access consciousness gives you is the keys to the universe that nobody else knows. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody. Okay. And I don't mean it as this exclusion because there's a lot of wonderful stuff that people might say and talk about. And when it is a contribution to your being, it works for you. When
mm.
it's about maintaining comfort or when it's about, oh, I understand this, so this must be okay, we're going down the same path. So let me just to try to make this point a little bit. Have you ever done something that you were kind of trepidatious to do or something that you thought you didn't want to do? Like went and did it for the first time and you had a lot of resistance and maybe had to use some tools or whatever you have available, and then you finally did it and you were like exhilarated?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And like I have a friend that works with us and she was out on a boat, okay, and everybody else was going swimming with dolphins. She was terrified of getting in the water. So she sat on the boat and whatever, and then she called an access friend and was like, will you help me, please? And this access friend also happened to used to be terrified of the water. So they ran some access processes and it got better. Like she knew she wasn't going to die. She just knew she was avoiding something major. In these areas where we have that resistance, you might look at, am I avoiding something major for me? Because we will avoid this so our life doesn't change. And I know this sounds, if it were logical, that would be great, but it's not. It's insane. But this is how we function. And this is the same thing we're doing with money. So you jumping into something where there might be a lot of money with ease is like her jumping into the water where she thought she was going to die. And once again, I know it sounds insane, but you got to go beyond logic here. Just be with this conversation, see what it might contribute to you, and and then take whatever tools that you can or take whatever awarenesses you can and explore them. Things will show up for you in a different way after this conversation. But what happened is she called her friend, she got some processing, got some access processing. She finally was like, and at the end of the conversation, she and her friend were on and they both went, okay, I am not going to get over being terrified of this. I just got to do it. I know I'm not going to die. Okay, I'll do it. And
Mm,
you and she jumped in the water. And after about 30 seconds of terror, there was this exhilaration that came over her whole body and being, and she felt more alive than she ever had. That
mm.
basically is what we have been avoiding with trying to keep our lives predictable and comfortable and small. It's one, and money is one of the main things that you can use to keep your life in a predictable pattern. And I don't have any delusions I can get anybody totally willing to go beyond that, but maybe today we can start. And it starts with being you. It starts with getting accessing what's true for you as a being energetically beyond your mind to where you start making choices more from what's congruent with your being, not what's congruent with your judgment system, which is your mind.
Well, this whole story reminds me of when I started to drive again. So I took my driver's license many, many years ago. And then there were many years where I wasn't driving much. And I lived in Stockholm, had all the kinds of reasons and justification. You don't need a car. There's so much collective traffic, whatever, in traffic, you can take a bus or a subway. And then I came to a point where I realized, actually, at one of the access classes in the US, and everybody had rented a car, but I hadn't. So I couldn't get anywhere. I had to like, get an Uber or ask somebody for a ride. And I was like, why don't I drive? This is crazy. Why am I not driving? I have a driver's license. So I used the access tools to get over this like unwillingness to step into something that I had decided that I wasn't good at, that I had bought,
Mhm.
that this was not my strong suit. I wasn't a good driver, like without even driving. And I took a summer to really like pick up driving again. And it has opened so much freedom for me in my life. There are things that I could never have done or chosen if I didn't know how to drive, if I wasn't comfortable getting into a car. And it sounds so small, but it really showed me where I had decided I wasn't a good driver. I wasn't going to drive, limited my life by that very little, tiny, seemingly insignificant conclusion about me. And now I so enjoy driving. And it's like such a big part of what I can reach, like what I can choose in my life. And it really is that conclusion of who I am that was stopping me before.
Well, the conclusion of who you are and keeping your life small, predictable,
Yeah.
and comfortable. It's that
Yes.
predictable and comfortable and small thing. So,
Mm.
and I'm so glad you use that example because if you look at it, money for most people is like your car, is
Yeah,
like, is like
totally.
driving. People think they don't know how to drive money
Mhm.
and they're terrified or they have all, here's the thing is it's not what you think it is. Because if it were what you think it is, you've been looking at that. You've been trying to change that forever. So if it were actually that, it would be changed by now. So what is it really? Let's look from some other directions and get some different perspectives. And by the way, what I'm saying is not the only thing. It's not the end all be all. It's just something, this entire universe that I've explored with so many people, myself included, and I've seen a lot of common threads that might help people, to if we can explore them somewhat, and give people a different perspective. But people, if you look at it, not being able to drive, you say it sounds like a small thing. No, it's actually, I think people could recognize it's a friggin' huge thing.
Yeah.
And not
No,
being
I
able
get that.
to, well, now it's opened up your world to so much more that just is now. And it's a similar thing with money. So, how many of you are keeping your money situation what it is so you can maintain predictability, so you can maintain the comfort? And how much of that comfort and predictability, that smallness of your monetary reality, isn't yours? How much of
Mm.
it is something you grew up with, like swimming in carrot soup and you think you're a carrot, but you were swimming in poverty soup and it was all around you. So you just sort of absorb it by osmosis. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. If you're new and you don't know what that is, it's called the clearing statement. You can go to theclearingstatement.com and listen to it because it's about 20 minutes that I don't want to take up here explaining one of the greatest tools you can use to change your life. So if you get nothing else out of this other than using the clearing statement, you're welcome from Katarina and Dain.
And actually, I want to pick up something you said a little earlier. You said this is not what we think it is. It's not about cognitively understanding what you're doing that's stopping this. So I have a very simple question, maybe. What's the difference between making money and receiving money?
Great question. Well, if making means that you have, it's like if you're making bread, what happens? You have to take the ingredients and put them in together and put them together to create the finished product. It does not happen without you actively working on it and doing it right, by the way. You got to get the recipe right. Well, did you say receiving money? Was that your other?
Yeah,
Okay,
making money and receiving money.
yeah, receiving money is there's money, I'll receive it.
Mm,
What? And what? Wait a minute, I got to make it. Well, what if that's, see, there's a truth and lie attached with that, where people have the point of view they have to make it. You have to be willing to take the action.
mm,
But what if the action you take is based on what your being presents to you? not what your mind is using to limit you. So it's like receiving it is just letting it come in. You know, one of the things you can do is an energy pull for money. And my friend Simone Millicis has a great one of those on YouTube that's this energy pull for money flows. And she's done a few, and several other facilitators have done them. And so check those out, but it might give you a different perspective, because what if right now energetically your being could go, okay, so I guess let's do it right now. Why not? So just take a moment, feel your butt on the seat, feel your feet on the floor, put your hands on your tummy, feel your tummy on your hands, your butt on the seat, your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in, noticing your butt on your seat, your feet on the floor, your hands on your tummy on your hands. And just go, get a sense of that there's so much money in the world. I mean,
Mm.
what? And there's so many people who have so much. Why? Because they have different points of view than you. They're willing to have it. So just pull that money into your space, into your house, into your bank accounts, into your life. Now, for a lot of, if we don't change the other stuff, this is not going to be that effective. I'm giving this to you so that you can get a slightly different perspective on what it might be to receive money. And so if you just ask to turn on the energetic flows that allow you to receive money. Now, if I ask you to pull energy in from around the earth, okay, so do that. Just wherever you sense it, just pull it in, maybe like swirls or tsunamis or light molecules or whatever, pull energy in. Now change that to money.
Mm.
Why does it stick for a lot of people? Because you have a point of view about money, you have a significance placed on money. But most of the significance you have on money isn't actually yours, it's something that you bought. So all the significance you bought around the subject of money and finances and wealth, and everywhere you have bought the point of view that those rich people aren't happy, and that it's that people with money are evil, and that money is the root of all evil. We destroy and uncreate all that, please.
Yes.
Times a gazillion, right, wrong, about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, povads, bases, creations, and beyonds. See, money just makes you more of who you are. If you're not currently evil, money will not make you evil. Money will make you more able to contribute to more people.
One of the things that I remember from when I started Access many years ago is that came as an aha for me was that receiving money doesn't necessarily come in the form that you think it will. Like it could be, I think the example we had at the time was somebody who like got to borrow somebody's house and they suddenly had access to this house and they had access to the car and whatever, like things that give give them wealth, but not
Yeah.
necessarily more money in their bank account. And that somehow shifted the way I looked at it as well. Like it's not, it doesn't come necessarily in the form you think it will or
Yeah.
decided it should.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily come in the form of bills or an
Mm,
uptick in your bank account necessarily. And that is also many points of view that we have. And that conversation was this lady had been using access tools to create money and to create and asking for more money. And she went to a class with Gary, I don't know, a couple months after this. And she's like, Gary, I'm not making more money. These tools don't work. He's like, really? So tell me what is changing. Like, well, this lady let me use her house for 3 months, and it's a beautiful big house. She said I could wear her clothes. She said I could drive her car. There's food in the house. And Gary's like,
right.
really? How much would that cost you to rent? You know, all of this stuff. And she was like, oh my God, thousands of dollars a month. And he
Mm,
went, so you're saying you're not having more money? And that perspective is one that kills us, because we look, what is your reference point for money for you? What is your reference point for, and what is your judgment system that you have in place that if this and this and this and this and this changes, then you'll know you have more money. Everything that
right.
is, all the reference points you're using to invalidate the money changes that you're making and the increase in receiving that you're actually choosing, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Times a gazillion, right, wrong, about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. So what sources of income and wealth are you receiving that you're not acknowledging?
Mm.
Everything that is times a gazillion, right, wrong, about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. Oh, so many things.
Yeah, there's like a zillion different directions to go. Well, I was another direction. What would you say is the most common lie that people buy that they have to be in order to be financially successful? Like,
They have to be not them. I mean, look at it.
right.
Most people would cut off their arms and legs and their head if, well, they think actually, they would cut off their arms and legs and head if somebody gave them a lot of money and they didn't have to work anymore, didn't have to do anything anymore. And so what we've been taught is the one thing that you can't be is you, because we believe then, like, if I were being me, if it were about being me, I would already have the money. And it's like, it actually doesn't work that way. It's
Mm,
actually that the greatest thing that you can be that will create not only money, but sustainable growing wealth is you. But people think if their eyes are open, they're being them. But in actuality, when you're being you, it has a lightness, it has a sense of ease, it has a sense of whatever comes up. And here's another helpful perspective is one of the things that we've all been conditioned to do is to solve our money problem, which is why when
okay.
Gary said to me, it's not a money problem, it's only a problem with what you're willing to receive. And I went, huh? Or it's only about what you're willing to receive. And so change this perspective. Rather than continuing to go, it's a problem and I need to solve it, look at it as a situation and what can I be, what can I choose, and what can I do to change it,
Mhm.
which is a
Well,
seemingly subtle distinction, but huge. Because a lot of people have been in money problem solving mode for years now.
yeah, and they learned from their parents to be in money problem solving mode. Like it's like an
Mm-hmm.
inherited trait. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is listening to this, have had this like disconnect from themselves and really mainly struggling to make money meet, what would you say could be a great like this question, yes. Is there another tool that they could use just to start shifting this to uncover them that would actually magnetize money to come in?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When you're being you, you don't have the angst and the stress that you have
Mm,
when you're not being you. Okay, and in fact, I would say all angst and stress comes from not being you. And there's a thing that we've been talking about lately called messed reality, matter, energy, space, and time. Energy and space are what is true, and matter and time have been tied to them as though they all occur, as though they all have to go together all the time. And it's the reality of limitation, judgment, etc. And one of the ways, one of the things that can be really helpful, you ask for one tool for somebody who's really struggling. Every time something comes up that's stressful about money, just go everything that is destroy
mm,
and destroy and uncreate it, pock and pod. Destroy and uncreate, pock and pod. Or you might go pock and pod, pock and pod, pock and pod, pock and pod. Or you can run the whole clearing statement. And it you may or may not have a sense of it changing in that very moment. Usually you'll get a bit lighter at least. But after you do it many, many, many times, there will start to be a shift in your reality with money. See, if I could, it's an interesting thing because the each person has created their own personal recipe for how they function with money and everything else. And so, but this particular thing starts working to shift any
mm.
place in which you've associated heaviness with money, stress around money, wrongness, all this sort of stuff. It starts to shift and change it really dynamically.
Well, when you said this, which I'm sure you've said before, but I heard in a whole different way now when you said that all anxiety and stress really comes from us not being us. And then I was
Yep.
looking at so much of our anxiety and stress is connected to that we think we need more money. Like we need more money, therefore we're anxious and stressed out. And then we're anxious and stressed out because we need, so that whole circle. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it creates when we have the point of view that we continuously need more money, independent how much money we have, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other interesting part is I've met people with $1 in their bank account and millions of dollars in their bank account, and they have the same money issues.
Yeah.
So interesting. Like I know people who inherited millions of dollars and they hold on to it as though they're going to lose it. It's like, I, and I understand, I grew up with people who did a very similar thing and I tried to do that thing too. It just didn't work. And so, that, okay, ask me your question again, because I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, you just arrived in Europe too. You're allowed to go off on a tangent. But when
Well, I
I'm
did.
looking at this, it's like the need part. How does our need for money actually limit our money
Right.
flows?
Well, look at it this way. Okay. Money, think of money as you for a moment. What do you do when somebody really needs you? Where they're like, okay, call me. Okay, please call. Okay, you haven't called. It's been 5 minutes. Why didn't you call? Hi, 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 hi. What do you do? Hi, hi. What does money do? The same thing you would do. Run the other fucking direction. Money wants to come to money has consciousness, okay? Everything has consciousness. Money wants to come to somebody who enjoys it, appreciates it, who's going to do wonderful things with it, you know? And there's also I want to say, well, I keep wanting to go to this point, which is there's lots of people on this planet that are not using their money. Like you'll see what some of the billionaires, quote unquote, or some really wealthy people do that seem so unkind, abusive, whatever you want to do. And you think if you have money, you're going to be one of those people. No, you're never going to be one of those people because you're not one of those people. Okay. So there's a way in which if you have enough money, you don't have to be. Okay, there's
Mm,
a lot of really wealthy people who never desire to explore more of themselves, more personal development, more personal growth until they have a major disaster. And then they will. Why? Because the way this reality is set up is money gives you the freedom to not have to be, gives you the freedom to not have to explore being, which so there's a lot of catch-22s involved in this. So everywhere you would rather be needy of money than be one of those really rich assholes. And ever you've decided people with money are assholes, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Times a
yes.
gazillion, right, wrong, about all 100, podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyond. Ever you decided that if you were really rich, you'd be an asshole. Would you really? Or would you
Mm,
actually do really wonderful, amazing things with it that contributed to everybody? And just from that perspective, would you be willing to consider allowing this to change so you can have money? Right and wrong, good and bad, bot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. So once again, in getting to use this clearing statement, we have this conversation. You can feel it bringing up stuff, but you don't know what it is. And then I ask, will you destroy and uncreate it? And it goes back to the point of creation and helps it dissolve. So what we're doing when we look at money or have these conversations with access consciousness tools is we're changing the foundation that has been creating this looping over and over in your life. So the need for money pushes it away. Well, then
yeah.
what do you, here's the other thing, because a lot of people have need for money and it's the one thing that will stress them out more than anything else. And here's the weird part. People with a lot of money don't have that to stress them out, so they'll create shitty relationships or a sick body. Just like choose your poison is this reality's point of view, basically. And so, given that you're one of the ones who, not you, Kat, but you, person watching, are one of the ones who chose money as your personal poison of this. Wow. So, everything you've done to choose money is your personal poison in this reality. So, you don't have to find out the wizard you actually are beyond this reality. Will you destroy and uncreate it all, please?
Yes.
Times a gazillion, right? Wrong about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyonds. Um, wow. So how much are you using money to prove that you're not the wizard you know you are? Everything that is, and all the catch-22s connected to that, we destroy and uncreate it all, please. Times
Yes.
a gazillion, right? Wrong about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyonds. What limitation with money are you using to hide the truth of you?
Yes.
Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyonds. So what limitation with money are you using to hide the truth of you? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyonds. Wow. For
Yeah.
me, it gives a whole different perspective if we recognize, because what most people have as their point of view, if they have limited money, they think it's happening from the outside to them, or there's something they're not capable of. If you recognize, no, I'm creating it this way, so I don't have to be as miraculous as I am, so I don't have to show up, so I don't have to be responsible, so I don't have to be what. Notice our whole conversation. I'm creating limited money so I don't have to be. So what are you creating limited money so you don't have to be? Everything that is, and write that one down, please. In fact, you might want to write them all down. What am I creating limited money so I don't have to be? In other words, what am I choosing not to be by creating limited money? But it works better the other way. What are you creating limited money so you don't have to be? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds.
Well, so we're going towards the end, but so if you lift it to like even bigger, like here, what we're talking about, that it's we're functioning in this, or we learn to function in this transactional messed reality that matter in time is more important than energy and space. If being you is actually a disruptor for this transactional way of functioning, how could you like,
Mhm.
what do you perceive as possible if more people actually choose that? It's like going back to the changing the world part of being you.
Could you imagine a world in which the magicians and wizards of consciousness who desired greater for all had all the money they could fathom
Mhm.
as a way of making it happen in this reality and world? Like, what if all of you watching, what if we were all multimillionaires? Could we get together and just because we have the money, consider buying companies that poison and pollute, for example, or buying a majority share and then voting them in a different direction? That's not an option. A lot of people, because you guys watching are the seekers, the ones who desire something different for the world. And notice I also don't have a fight against companies, against people that are doing destructive things, because when you fight against, you're doing messed reality. You're fighting, you're fighting against what will actually work to create change. And if you could imagine, and a lot of people watching, like imagine if you and we were all multimillionaires and could just be like, hey, we're people with a lot of money who are also exploring our being. In fact, the way we created this money was from being. And guess what? And could you imagine if you saw a bunch of conscious multimillionaires? How many more people would want consciousness? A
And
lot.
I just keep getting this
Yeah.
in my head, how much fun it would be.
Yep, for all of us. And this
Mm.
is the thing we're missing. It's funny because I went in the directions that I went based on the energy of the moment and my jet lag. And no, I don't really have jet lag. I do have extreme tiredness, um, and no brain power. But I went in the directions that I did. But it's like there's so many more things to explore. Like literally, money follows joy. So I'm going to give you three really simple, maybe four, maybe 20, really simple things to do from this point forward. Okay. Number one, every day ask universe, show me something beautiful and miraculous, please. Okay. Show me something beautiful and show me miracles. And the reason I don't put money in the word there is because if you'll notice, if you add money to it, you're going to make it significant. And then you're going to start trying to predict how that miracle should show up, which kills the miracles. So, universe, show me something beautiful and show me miracles today. Okay. Now, that starts changing the energy of your being because when you're willing to be more, you receive more. Why? Because you don't put up walls and barriers because you don't have to try to protect yourself from the world. When you don't have to try to protect yourself from the world, stuff can get in because there's not all these walls keeping it out. That's pretty cool, eh? So next, you want to put 10% of every dollar that comes in. You can start with 5% if you need to. But every dollar that comes in goes to a 10% account or under your bed or wherever as an honoring of you, and don't spend it. Okay. And if you do, you will accumulate money. And once you get to a certain amount, your stress around money will go away because you'll know you have money. It was one of the biggest things that changed my financial reality. Okay. Um, Number three, every single day, do something that puts a smile on your face. I don't care what it is, anything that makes you happier for even a moment. Even if it's like you love your coffee in the morning, just take 5 minutes and enjoy it just because you can. Okay. Money follows joy for us, the seekers of the world. So I need to make another distinction here. For you guys that are watching this, the rules of this reality to create money do not apply to you, which is why it has not been working. Okay. So if you can get this, like, the Bezoses of the world and the Musks of the world, they're doing something different that a lot of you would not want to do or be. It's also because that's not really a thing that will work for you. The rules of this reality do not apply. So you're going to have to go to some rules beyond this reality that are not really rules. They're more like awarenesses of what will actually work. And that is more what we're going to be able to explore in the Being You Changing the World class that I'm looking forward to very much because it's beyond the scope. Because if I start going into that right now,
Mm.
I don't have enough time to present it and then overcome all the insanity that will come up because you think all of this is true. But in the course of a 3-day class, I can start to unwind it enough to where the rules beyond reality, the spaces, the possibilities beyond reality start to become available to you. And
And if you
is
just
where
join,
that is where we really need to go. What?
and I just want to add, if you just joined, so Dane is actually going
Oh,
to India the second weekend of May, so quite soon. He's going to do a 3-day Being You Changing the World class. And this time, that class actually has a money theme, which it never has had before. So it's the first time ever that this will occur in India. I'll
in
say
India.
so
Good
many stuff in
place.
India.
Good place to explore every form of this reality in its most intense forms. Yay.
And you can
Awesome.
join, you can go to India, you can go to Delhi and join, or you can join online from anywhere in the world. So I
Yes.
think that we're going to put, oh, the theme is creating the money you never been willing to have.
Yes. And the realization being over the past several years, so many of the seekers of the world have had more trouble. Well, the whole world has had more trouble with money in a lot of ways, or more stress around it. And that's the other thing. The fourth thing, I think it was fourth, was every single day you want to go, okay, how much of all of this is not actually mine? How much of this am I just aware of in the world? And
Mm,
pod and destroy and uncreate it. Okay. And part of the reason we're exploring all of this, because so I've watched as what has happened over the last several years. And I've also been looking for a very long time of how do we get people beyond it in a way that will actually work. And
mm,
Gary and I are doing a wealth class in Geneva the weekend before. And there's going to be a lot of information that comes out there. But I just got this. This is one of the first times I've been able to put it in this way, this succinctly. The rules of money of this reality do not apply to you seekers. The other people can do that thing of making it all about the money and killing somebody for a nickel to step over their head to get the money or whatever. But truth, does that really work for you? If not, we're going to explore something different in the Being You class. Okay. And the rules of this reality don't apply. But if you go beyond this reality, you also go beyond all of the needs and the limitations that other people can't go beyond. So, boom. And the Being You class, like I think I said, is one of the only classes I facilitate that doesn't have prerequisites. And so I was looking at that going, oh, being you and money.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's really when you're talking about it too, we have the wealth really class the weekend before, but it's like getting a money education that finally allows you to choose what works for you with money. Because copying Musk, for example, probably won't work for a lot of people listening to this. It's
Yep.
something different, like something beyond. And that's where this is like, you can't give it on a live, obviously, but it's like a whole different way of functioning in the world when it comes to wealth and money and
Yep.
finances.
Yep. And uniquely yours.
Mm,
It's uniquely yours. You can't copy me either,
yeah.
but maybe I can inspire you to be more of you and show you some different perspectives and some different things. And there's another thing where I say again, people have decided it is this, and I just need to fix this, and I need to solve this. And I had done that too with money for a long time, and I realized it's not like even over the past 5 years, it's like there's so much of these things that looked real, whatever. And I was like, wow, where did all this come from? I finally realized it came from everything I was aware of around me that felt so real that I made it real. So another thing on this is tool number 5 for every day.
Yeah.
All the feelings I have about money and all the feelings I have about this, and everywhere I'm making feelings real, destroy and
Mhm.
uncreate it and return to sender with consciousness attached. And there's so many other things, but since we were going to do a live for, however long, I could go for another 2 hours just giving you new
Yeah.
things that show up. That's why we're doing the friggin' class too. It's
So
like,
basically, come to class if you would like
come.
more. Come to
Well, take
class.
what you got today and then see if, oh, another tool for you. When you ask for something, when you're going to choose something, and it can be tiny or huge, you want to ask yourself, if I choose this, what will this create? And don't try to get a picture of it or define it. Just, will it make my life more like this or more like this? Or if you want to try to get your mind out of it more, you can go, if I choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years? Will it be more like this or more like this? And do me a favor, please. Ask that question for any choice, even the small choices, and just be with it for a moment. If I choose this, what will this create? It'll be like, and it may take you asking that question a few hundred times, but it's one of the greatest questions you can ask because it gets you out of choosing things that contract, because the reason our lives are so contracted is because we make choices for that because it has a basis in our past and it makes us feel comfortable to choose to be as contracted. And so if you would like a lighter life, and that's where the money shows up with more ease, is choose more choices that make you go like this. So, for example, if you were getting on this live, if I choose this, what will this create? Or if you're thinking of going to the Being You class, if I choose this, what will this create? Use that as your guide for choice, not the judgment system, and I don't have the money, or I do, or
And
whatever.
somebody on the live said, "I love how everything is a tool," and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
summarizes the this live. Like everything that comes up either is a tool, could be used as a tool, or it could change with the help of a
Right?
tool.
Totally.
So.
And I love this comment also. I was taught to choose solid and real instead of light and intangible. Exactly.
Mm.
And that is what we've been doing. And solid and real has gotten us to the heaviness that we have in any area. More light,
And
more happy, more money.
and one of the things you said a while ago is that if you start choosing consciousness, everything that shows up in your life will be to get to more consciousness. So like every single thing that shows up is actually a possibility for something new, something different, more possibilities. So that's also, again, a tool to take with you from
Hmm.
this live. And we'll put the links for the classes under wherever this live is going live, so you can find them and see and go there and check out the page and see if this is the class. Ask yourself the question, what will my life be like in 5 years?
Yeah, and
If
even if not, man, what will my life be like in 5 years? We'll do
yeah.
this, we'll do this. And
Mm.
whether you, and then choose. One of the greatest things you can do is choose and know that you're choosing. That's one of the choice is one of the most empowering things there is. Yes or
True.
no, but acknowledge that you're choosing it. Don't say, oh, I would, but the world won't let me.
Yeah.
No, yes or no, you know? And what if there's no such thing as a wrong choice? Tool number seven, more like tool number
Exactly.
700. See, but part of the thing is I wanted us to do this live because I know all the people watching the live aren't going to come to the class. I wish they would. How cool would your life be if you did, right? And some of you are like, whoa, it wasn't on my radar, but it is now. But also I wanted to present this different energetic world because I know as people start exploring it, they will find the way to something different. And
Yeah.
so that is also part of why I wanted to do this live because I want people to know the rules that apply to the money in this reality. They don't, the rules that got, the structures that got a lot of people their money won't work for you, but there are some that are actually beyond that and sustainable that will work for you like a friggin' charm. So there.
So there. I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Dain. And I'm so glad you're waking up in Poland. And tomorrow we start an ESB class here.
Yay.
Yay.
ESP. Come to
See
ESP
some of
too.
you then.
Thank you, Miss Katarina. Thank you, all you beautiful people behind the scenes. And thank you, everybody who was kind enough to come and watch. Thank you for your time and your very being. And what if you truly being you, having ease, joy, and glory with money are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Ooh, we have a pretty graphic. Yay. Awesome, Possum. Look at us. Oh, okay, bye-bye.
Are we still streaming or no?
Yes, we are
I
still.
hope so. That should be on our stream. We don't want to, you don't want people to miss the behind the scenes stuff. You know, you got to like give them the good stuff. You know, the real, just kidding. All of it was real. Okay, bye.